Well, joining us now for more on this is Brian Claypool. He is a civil rights attorney. So, Brian, today we heard from the U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch. She made it very clear that this counter lawsuit against North Carolina is about a lot more than just who gets to use a bathroom. Listen to this.
State-sanctioned discrimination never looks good and never works in hindsight. It was not so very long ago that states, including North Carolina, had other signs above restrooms, water fountains, and on public accommodations, keeping people out based on a distinction without a difference.
Okay, let's talk about the legal aspects of this. Comes down to Title VII in the Civil Rights Act and whether or not trans people are covered even though they're not specifically mentioned. Is that where we're going with this?
Exactly. We need an interpretation from the federal court to decide whether Title VII covers transgender folks. And both the governor of North Carolina and Loretta Lynch both have a good point. They both want a determination on this. But I think the governor of North Carolina went about it the wrong way. I mean, the state legislator went and created a law that basically does what Loretta Lynch says. It's discriminating against transgender folks without getting that interpretation.
Why would you go down that road? Why would you do something like, bearing in mind there is that lack of clarification? Are there precedents, legal precedents, that go in favor of North Carolina?
Well, North Carolina says they've got a couple cases in their back pocket. Loretta Lynch says she's got a couple cases in her back pocket.
And what do you say?
And I think that the federal court is eventually going to come down in favor of protecting transgender folks. I think they're going to be protected under Title VII, because if you look at the definition of in Title VII, it says you can't discriminate on the basis of sex, and then it defines basis of sex and says, yeah, it defines pregnant women, and then it says including but not limited to.
Not limited to.
Not limited to.
Yeah.
It leaves an opening.
Yeah.
Right.
And that law was promulgated 50 years ago, Aisha. Laws need to adjust and change as the social climate does.
Okay, North Carolina's governor, he's called on Congress to try and clarify the law and Title VII. Listen to this.
We believe a court, rather than a federal agency, should tell our state, our nation, and employers across the country what the law requires. And let me say something. Our nation is one nation, especially when it comes to fighting discrimination, which I support wholeheartedly. Ultimately, I think it's time for the U.S. Congress to bring clarity to our national anti-discrimination provisions under Title VII and Title IX.
That would be the easiest thing to do from a legal point of view, not necessarily from a political point.
Well, I have a big question for Governor McCrory in North Carolina. If he wants Congress to make this decision, then why did he have his legislature go out and create a law that's at odds, in my opinion, with Title VII? He should have asked Congress to do it and let them make a decision if they wanted to make a decision. Instead, he creates this law through the state legislature.
He's being a little bit disingenuous there.
Absolutely.
Right.
And there's another way that you can go about this too. There's two ways to get an interpretation of this law. Have Congress clarify Title VII, or do what both sides are doing right now. They're going to battle in court, and this might find its way all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Do you think it will get that far? There are those who say that it will actually end in the appellate courts, which is a fairly conservative court, but has actually sided in the past in favor of the federal law.
I disagree with that. I think this is such a novel issue that it's going to find its way all the way to the Supreme Court. But unfortunately, we have a problem with that, because right now we've got
missing a justice.
4-4. It's going to be, it might be a tie, and we might be back talking about this in 6 more months.
Well, please come back if that is the
We'll
case.
talk about it then.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, time for a quick